I always like the thought of being the main character in your own movie or being the hero of your own journey. And recently I was reading Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero of a Thousand Faces. I was reading it, just flicking through it again. It's something I come back to every so often, and probably more so whenever I feel stuck or I feel like I need to make big changes. So I've wrote here about how every man has to leave comfort behind, face trials, and rise with a deeper purpose. Understanding those three things, you're going to go through at least those three things. I'm going to go through a wee bit of the idea of the book, but just taking those three things, leave comfort behind, face trials, and rise with a deeper purpose. A lot of the time, men will leave the comfort that they've created, the job, the friends, the gym that they're in, whatever it is, when they don't feel like they're getting anywhere with it, or they don't feel fulfilled. But once they start facing trials, like blockages come up, they start to think, oh fuck, maybe that was the wrong decision, I better go back to comfort. And if you do that enough, then it gets to the point where we start to stop leaving comfort altogether because you're afraid. So you end up in this back and forth. And because you end up there, you never get to the third one, which is rise up with deeper purpose, so with a deeper meaning, with more fulfillment, whatever it is that whatever way you want to word it, so that it's the achieving the end goal. Leaving comfort is difficult. Like, we've all done it at different times. You'd be able to think now back to a time where you left comfort. Like, the easy example for me is I left the comfort of a useful job. I was working in a bar. I was actually working in 2 bars at the time. I was a key holder. I was making decent money. A lot of friends around me. I was very popular in the bar, so like, it was a cool lifestyle. I didn't drink, so it was even better. So I never spent my money back in the bar. But I had the opportunity to go live in London and learn and teach martial arts. So I left everything. I was in a relationship that ended because of it. I left all that comfort. It was very difficult, and there was a lot of trials and tribulations. But coming out the other side of it, like my understanding of human behavior of martial arts, obviously, and all the experiences that came with it. I lived with a magician, and that's where I learned magic, and that's where I learned stagecraft, and that's where I learned reading human behavior. And like, the journey was a pretty crazy journey, but it all came from that one step outside of my comfort zone, facing the trials. And the reason I was able to get through them was because my higher goal was there. I just knew where I wanted to be, so I just kept, nothing would stop me. I just kept bulling through till I eventually got to the level that I wanted to get at. So one of the ways I broke this down, well, the book breaks it down, but I'm breaking it down for this podcast, is number one is the call to adventure. So that's leaving your comfort zone. So you feel it, that quiet dissatisfaction, that sense there's more. Most men, hopefully you're not most men, but most men will just numb this with drugs, sex, drink, hobbies. They'll just numb that call. They'll switch off the universal telephone and just block it out because they're not ready to leave the comfort zone, but they know they're capable of more. They can achieve a lot more. So the call to adventure, if you ignore the call long enough, it turns into anxiety or regret. So the anxiety of just feeling something's not right, but not dealing with it, so you don't know what it is. And then as years pass, you look back and then you regret, like, if I didn't move to London that time, I would probably sit now and look back and think, fuck, I really should have done that. I'd probably still be working in the bar. There's people that I worked in the bar with that are still there. The fucking bar's moved, but they've moved with it. So the call to adventure is the first. We all have these. If you really take 5 minutes out and sit with yourself, you probably have one right now. There's probably a bit of, call it itchy foot, whatever. So then crossing the threshold is the second part, where you step into the discomfort. So you do the training, the discipline, the solitude, the truth, whatever it is that you have to step into to move to that. It might be a hard conversation with a partner, with a friend, with a boss. you're basically leaving the familiar, you're leaving the old habits, and like we talked on the last podcast, you're leaving that old identity. And I was talking about this recently with someone. When I was an anxiety coach and I did the therapy, hypnotherapy, and just life coaching for people with anxiety, the first question I would ask them is, when we get rid of this anxiety, so at the minute you're an anxious person, your friends know you as anxious, your family know you as anxious, you are the anxious one. Who are you when we get rid of that? What's the new identity we're looking for? And that used to stump everyone because they never thought beyond. They never thought, well, I can actually clear this, and when I clear it, I'll be whatever. And some people just never came back to me after that question was enough for them to go, fuck, actually, I don't like it, but I like being here because I know where here is and what here is like. So sometimes people thinking about getting rid of what's holding them back, like being in that free open world, is a scary fucking place to be when you don't know where you're going. So when you leave you're leaving your old habits, you're leaving your old identities. This is why I call this a path, the warrior's path. That's where it begins. So when I moved to London, that was the beginning of my warrior's path. It's still ongoing, but when I was just stagnating in the bar, I wasn't on any path. I was just had a good job, don't lose a good job. Like, because I had no qualifications from school or anything at that time, I was lucky to have a job. For anyone that's just listening, I'm bunny ears in the way here. I was lucky to have a job. I was lucky to be in the position I was in, making the money I was making. But I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy. I wasn't growing. I was just stagnant. I was mentally sedentary. Physically, I was training and moving about, but mentally, I was sedentary. So you need to step into the unfamiliar to get out of the comfort zone and to move forward. So the third part is the descent and the trial. So if you read that book, they'll go into like Hercules and all sorts of heroes' journeys. So you have to face pain, confusion, setbacks. That's like the initiation. You're getting hit by this. Sometimes, like when I moved to London, it was fucking depressing at the start. It was the first time I was away from family. Didn't know anybody apart from Master Ian. And I'd met his mum before, Sheila, but probably apart from that was it. So only knowing your bosses isn't the greatest. Like, he was my master, but also I worked there, so he was my boss. I didn't know anyone. I had no friends. I was just landed. There was a lot of expectation on me from friends at home because I was going on this adventure to become a kung fu man, so I better achieve it. And then I was this random Irish guy that just landed to this kung fu club, and because of the brotherhood in the kung fu club, I was ranked very highly because I'd been doing it a long time, but none of them knew me, so they just had to give me, because it was the way that it just works, they had to give me respect. I was at the start of the line where people had been in this actual club for 5 years, but I'd been training for 6 years, so I was above them even though they'd never seen me before. So it was a very hectic situation to be in. I couldn't afford proper food or anything, so there was a lot of things going against it, but that was just the initiation. That was, do you really want this, or are you going to let life, the difficulties of life, just fuck you over and you're just going to go back and work in the bar? So you're not supposed to be ready. You're supposed to endure. So when you leave your comfort zone and it's difficult and you're not ready for this, that's you shouldn't be. You're not ready for it because you've never experienced it. You haven't went through the journey. You endure the journey to become ready. So I endured the hardship of that to become the level of martial artist that I am now, and for it just to become part of my life rather than a thing that I did on the side. Like, I go and play table tennis. I fucking never played table tennis. I used to when I youth worked, but as an example, if you go and play table tennis once a week, you're not a table tennis player. You're someone that plays table tennis once a week. But if you play it every day and you practice your swing every day and you think about it, you visualize it, you're probably a table tennis player. So you're doing the descent and the trial. That is when you endure. Sometimes you have to endure hard times, but hard times make strong people. Then number 4, we get to the 4th bit, which is we return with power. The return with power. You come back changed, which sometimes is a new trial, because when you come back, you'll lose friends. You'll lose the ability to have the conversations that you used to have, because they're at a lower level, a lower frequency than you are at now. So you come back changed. Important to not be cocky but centered, not loud but strong. I get accused of being egotistical and cocky all the time when I came back, because I spoke differently. I wanted to talk about different things. I trained harder than I did when I left, so the people I used to train with just couldn't keep up with the training. So people thought I was better than them, but back then it was difficult. But now I realize that was just on them. That was, a lot of people don't want you to change because they aren't willing to change, so they want you to stay where you are with them, because once you get to here and you're looking back at where you were and they're still there, they feel like shit that they haven't done anything. That's not on you, that's on them. So once you go through all this, you go on your journey. It doesn't end, but you're in a stronger place for the next journey, the next trial, the next level up. So the challenge that I want to set for you today is, where am I on the path? Check-in. So are you denying the call, first of all? Are you hiding it with drink, with drugs, with sex, with whatever? Are you denying the call? Are you in the descent? So where are you in the descent? Have you started to face the pain a wee bit? Where are you? Or are you coming back with something to share? Knowing where you are, so checking in where you are in the path. If you discover that, fuck, I'm actually in the descent here, that's why this is so hard and why it's so difficult. Now you know that you're in a part of the path that you need to just work your way through to get to the other side. When you don't check in, you don't know where you are, and life's just hard, and it's shit because it's just fucking hard. And no matter what you do, it doesn't make it easier, because what you do isn't the last thing. Maybe what you do has got you further on in the path, but there's still 10 more steps. So doing this check-in, write the answer down, then act with it. So do the check-in, find out where you are. If you're just denying the call, then fucking accept the call and start making changes. If you're coming back with something to share, then start with me, share it with the people around you. But check in and find out where you are on the path. Feel free to reach out to me and let me know what you come up with. And read the book. It's a good book. I'll show it again for people seeing it, and this is the book. It's a good book. It's one that you can come back and check on. So until the next time, have a super awesome day, whatever you get up to, and I'll speak to you again soon.